It's animation's first ever female animated star, Betty Boop. Though she wasn't Fleischer Studios' first cartoon star, she is certainly one of their most famous and beloved characters even to this very day. How did she gain immortality in the world of animation? Well, let's take a look. Before we get to Betty, I think it's important to talk about the history of Fleischer Studios, the company that created her, because everything they accomplished before she came along played a huge role in her success. Fleischer Studios has been producing cartoons since the silent film era back in the 1920s, in which they titled their series Out of the Inkwell. Most of these cartoons starred their first creations, Koko the Clown and Bimbo the Dog. The studio was famous for introducing the world to their invention, the rotoscope. The rotoscope was a device that consisted of a film projector and easel and was used as an aid to achieve realistic movement in animation. This tool would be used later on to help make the world's first full-length animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. When sound came into play for films, Fleischer Studios had no trouble making the transition from silent to sound. In fact, they saw the possibilities with the new technology and couldn't wait to use it to their advantage. Thus, Talk cartoons were born. Get it? They can talk now? The Talk cartoons and the character Bimbo helped elevate Fleischer Studios even further as animation giants. They soon established themselves as a brand that could compete with the likes of their biggest rival at the time, Walt Disney. While Disney was more simple with his shorts, Fleischer Studios adapted more elements of surrealism and dark humor into their shorts. On top of that, the studio experimented with shading more and was responsible for creating the first cartoon short that used a full range of gray as opposed to just black and white. The original plan was for Bimbo to be the star of Fleischer Studios' Talk cartoons to compete with Disney's character Mickey Mouse. But then a Bimbo cartoon called Dizzy Dishes was made in 1930, and a new star was born. Well, kind of.
I have to have love.
Okay, so she's a dog.
Betty Boop was originally introduced as a French poodle caricature of Helen Kane, a popular jazz singer at the time. She served as Bimbo's on-screen girlfriend, who had a heart of gold, but not much for brains. Over the course of a year, the animators changed her into a human, replacing her ears with hoop earrings and her dog nose with a cuter button nose. And we couldn't be happier for it. Yeah, that's so unnatural. In 1932, Betty was popular enough to get her own series in the Talk cartoons, and she became the studio's biggest star and earned the title Queen of Animation, a title she holds to this very day. Like many of the Talk cartoons that were produced before she came along, many of Betty's shorts contained a lot of elements of surrealism, dark humor, as well as both psychological and sexual elements. Also, contrary to the Disney cartoons, which were more cheerful and nature-oriented, Betty's shorts were darker, grittier, and more urban-based to serve as a reflection of the Great Depression at the time, making her shorts more popular with adults than kids. Betty Boop's breakout role that truly established her as an animated star was Minnie the Moocher in 1932. This short alone displayed all the elements mentioned earlier that made her cartoon so memorable. The plot itself is kind of simple at first. Betty gets into an argument with her parents and runs away from home with Bimbo, serving as the sidekick now. But it's when they get to the cave when things really start to get good. This is where they come across all these surreal and dark images that have made her short so famous, as well as showing off the rotoscope to its fullest potential.
Hoddy, hoddy, ho. Hoddy, hoddy, ho. Hoddy, hoddy, hoddy. Hoddy, hoddy, hoddy. Hee-dee, hee-dee, hee. Hee-dee, hee-dee. Hoddy, hoddy, ho. Hoddy, hoddy, ho.
By the way, that's Cab Calloway providing the singing voice of the walrus. This short is credited for introducing Cab Calloway and his music to the mainstream audience. He would be brought back to do 2 more shorts in this style, Snow White and The Old Man on the Mountain.
Long white beard and a crooked stare, tramps along with the folks all scared. With a tickle in his eye, he passes them by, the old man of the mountain.
All 3 shorts were animated to one of his songs. So that would technically make these 3 shorts the first ever music videos to be created in history. Is that accurate? I think an argument can be made for that statement. Needless to say, the content of some of her shorts were considered pretty racy and scandalous for audiences at the time. Good grief, these people would crap their pants if they saw what was being made these days. As a result of some of the content in Betty's shorts, as well as other films at the time, the National Legion of Decency moved to have the Supreme Court pass a bill called the Production Code of 1934. This bill set guidelines and rules for Hollywood over what content could or couldn't be shown in their films. As a result, the content in Betty's shorts was changed drastically, and her shorts became a lot tamer. Betty's appearance was changed from a jazzy flapper to that of a career housewife. On top of that, her shorts were beginning to be used as more of a means to introduce more side characters, including a puppy named Pudgy, a neighbor named Grampy, and a boyfriend named Frankie. Because of the tamer content, the shorts were geared more toward the younger audience. And boy, did they suffer for it.
All I need is just a smile from you. When I know you're near, tears just disappear. No one cheers me up the way you do.
I think I'm gonna hurl.
So, yeah, it's easy to see why her popularity began to diminish once the production code was put into effect. On top of that, other stars were beginning to emerge that could fit the style and still be entertaining to audiences of all ages. One of them was produced by Fleischer Studios, but we'll get to him next time. Despite the last Betty Boop short being created in 1939, the character's legacy still lives on to this very day, mostly through merchandise, DVD sales, and random appearances in other media, including the critically acclaimed Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
What are you doing here?
Work's been kind of slow since cartoons went to color. But I still got it, Eddie. Boop, boop-be-doo.
Yeah, you still got it.
And I think that statement sums up Betty Boop perfectly. Despite not having her own shorts in almost 70 years, she still got it. Her shorts were hands down revolutionary. While the content of some of her earlier shorts probably wouldn't fly in today's society, there's still something that should be admired and respected. They showed all the possibilities that were there when film went from silent to sound and what animation could do with the new technology, thus elevating the art of animation even further for the future. And at the center of this revolution was a young lady known as Sweet Betty Boop, the queen of animation to this very day.